great saying the word to be a Christian, amen. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And all these headsets, as many times as I've used a headset, they're all a little different. And so I have a tendency to push at it or twig at it because it looks like there's something on the side of my face. And so be patient with me. Hello from all over every parts of the world. Lynn and I, my wife, with me at Global Missions, just got back this past Tuesday, from South America, and all the churches there from the graduation say hello and thank you for your support. Every church and every graduation in every country that we go to, they are so thankful for all the Americans and for all that we do to support and to make sure that they have an education in Bible. And so I'm thankful to be here. We usually try to make a trip up, and we go over and enjoy the Dinah singing on Friday night, and then we try to recuperate all day yesterday so we could be here with you this morning. That was great, and it's good to be here. But Global Missions, I wanted to start with you with a personnel real quick. That's Brother Steve Shapley over on the left. He's a preacher at Boone's Ferry Church of Christ, been there for over 20 years, he and his wife, Miss Beth, and they do a great job. He does our technical things, our graduation, production of the certificates, diplomas, and everything. He keeps up with all that, all the records of the grading and all of that. And our sister, Phyllis Bush, she is from Saucer Creek, just up on the North Road, where we call her, from Fulton, Mississippi. And she is a widow, and she comes in there, and she's retired from the community college there at Aroma College, and she does our accounting. She's there from about 8:45 to 9:15. Whenever time she gets through dropping all the grandkids and the grandkids taken care of, then she comes in and she works as our secretary. She's there with us till about middle of the afternoon, but she does a great job. She counts all of our monies that come in, takes phone calls, whatever. And that's JC and Linda Enlow. JC and Linda started this work right over here at International Bible College. He was the fundraiser for International Bible College, and I met JC. He was the preacher come to Ashland in 1981 or 2, and that's where he and I met. So we've been knowing each other since back in the 80s when we were in high school, or I came through high school. It was the first preaching job there. And then he ended up at IBC, and he ended up starting this work, doing a lot of mission work. And then that's myself, and that's my wife, Miss Lynn. And so it's good to have her with me. She was able for the first time in 5 years here to go out of the country. I've been going out of the country to all these other continents, and a lot of it's in the jungle. And she says, if you don't mind, I'll just stay here where I got my own bed and my own shower and my own kitchen and my own everything. And so it's been wonderful. It's been an adventure going out into the jungle as much as I have. It's been different. But I'm going to tell you something. I am probably, and she is, we are together probably two of the most blessed people that you can think of in Christianity. And I say that because we've been members at Fulton, Mississippi for about 5 years now. We placed membership there and the congregation there, so we would be under an eldership. And I've been there, I think, Sunday a couple of weeks ago was the 14th time in 5 years. Well, that's not a lot of times to be there. If you're a member there, I preached 3 of those times. And so, but I love to lead singing, so when I don't preach, I get to lead singing. But when I said all that to say this, do you know how wonderful it is to sit down like last Sunday in a congregation of 100 brothers and sisters on a whole other place in the world, and you have the same mindset, the same goals in life, the same inspirations, aspirations, all the things that you can think of in Christianity, and you feel like you're right at home. I mean, home. We're here and we feel like we're at home right here at Chapel Hill. We just fell in love with this congregation, and I love to see it's continuing to grow. We just visited and came in and began a relationship, and it's been great. But it's a blessing to go all over the world and to feel the same way wherever we go. And we visit a lot of churches, a lot of congregations from 9, 10, 12, 15, 50, 1,500. And we always feel that we're accepted and we're loved. And so we appreciate being a part of the family. That is the reason why I love doing mission work. Simply because we can just get one here, one here, one here, one here. Wherever we go, our goal is to get one more to be a part of the family to feel that same feeling for the kingdom of God. Amen? And so it's a blessing. We are blessed, no doubt about it. Our mission at Global Missions is simple. It really works, and the more I'm out of the country visiting these congregations and doing graduations and doing VBSs and stuff, I see how much more important and how more effective it is. 21st Global Missions, we exist for one purpose, and that's recruiting, educating, and encouraging communicators of the gospel on language, culture, and country. Now, just having returned from South America, Georgetown, a crowded city, lots and lots of people. The church has been there for quite some time, and we work out of that congregation with Brother Wilbur Rejas, and he has students coming from congregations, from several congregations around. This time we had 15 ladies and 5 men graduate. They have the same problem we have here in the States, but more so there in Georgetown. There's absolutely male spiritual leaders are just almost non-existent. Now, I couldn't tell how many children were this way, but we had a whole generation of young male spiritual leaders coming on over here. Amen? If we don't train them now, they're not going to train themselves. And if you're raised in a society where they have to work so much that they don't even give Christianity a chance, then it just becomes a way of life. And that's the problem. It's a way of life. It's too big a deal to go to church. We got to get out here and act out a living out here the best way we can. And if you saw the circumstances, you'd understand. So these ladies that we're training, they know Bible. They do a lot of ladies' Bible classes. They're doing everything in the world to grow the church. There are more ladies, no doubt. They're not preachers. Our problem is we don't have a lot of new congregations established in Georgetown simply because all of the girls and what few men we have coming up are very few. We got over 100 congregations in that big region there. And so the preachers that we're training, instead of starting a new church, they're going to 8 congregations already established. So that's a good problem that we're working on with you ladies. I want to say this. Ladies, you never underestimate your importance. You young ladies. Bible classes and singing Jesus Loves Me will make a difference in this world. Always has, always will, but it's more needed now than ever. You look at our society, and with what's happened over the past week, with the murder on the TV, everybody knows all about that. You've got to do something with that mindset. And that's going to start in the home. And you can have good homes and people can change your minds. But when you have people rise up with loud voices and say things repeatedly, the old saying is, if you say something loud enough and long enough, it becomes truth when it's not. It's a fallacy. All of this crazy stuff that we see in our politics, we don't have to go far to understand right from wrong. We pick up the Bible. Most of it to us here is just common sense. But there's a whole generation, a whole group of people that really need to be reached with just common sense living. I appreciate you preaching the gospel this morning. If that's not the gospel, brother, I don't know what else to say. That's living the gospel, Hebrews 10, verse 25, especially as you see the day drawing near, this day and ultimately the day, the return. Language is a huge thing so that you don't lose the essence of meanings of words in different languages. I like all of the schools in Africa because they are English-speaking. Guyana is the only that I know of English-speaking country in South America, and so we're blessed to have a school there. But it's rough. Last week about this time, well, about an hour. We're about an hour behind. So about an hour past. I was standing up preaching in a blue shirt like this one, and it was hot, sister. I didn't put a tie on. It was too hot in that building there's no air conditioner. It's just blocks with holes in them. See, I know what a cinder block is. And so that was the walls of this nice auditorium. It's painted and everything. But by the time I got through preaching, literally the sweat was dripping out of the cuffs of my sleeves. It was hot. I told Miss Lynn, I said, I don't know. I've been in the jungle and I've been in some hot places, but the humidity or something was just off. It was close to the sea with big buildings blocking the air passage. It was just take your breath. I mean, it was hard to breathe. Not even, I was not the only one. It was a lot of them. There were several that were not there simply because of the heat. It's extreme. So we try to do their own language. No matter what country you're in, you lose the essence of words and understanding of words. It's hard enough studying the Bible with Greek and the Hebrew, and you're trying to get the right words and get the right words that are put in there, like Brother Isaac did this morning. This is what the Greek word originally, here's what it means, and so you're trying to get that. So we have to be careful, and it's better in their own language. Some of those students come here and have come. Some of our directors got an education here in the States, and they went back home. But it was extremely hard for them to learn our language, translate everything they were being taught in class, and then take it back and be effective with it. So language is crucial. Culture is something that's really, really a big thing. Culturally speaking, we are way different in a lot of ways. There's a lot of customs, a lot of things they do that we would never think of doing, and vice versa. Anywhere you go in Mexico, you're going to greet with a kiss. None of you ladies came up and kissed me here, not even my wife. But that's a cultural thing. You learn to eat what they eat in their culture. I learned this last trip to eat shrimp. Most everybody here like shrimp. Anybody here not like shrimp? Okay, well then you really wouldn't like it if you eat it with the head and legs and tail all on there. But if you're in Arizona, that's what you do, because that's what they do. I have eaten groundhog. I have eaten monkey. Monkey's the only thing that made me sick. But everything else, I think I made it through. But lots of plantain, lots of pineapple and that kind of stuff. But culturally speaking, you don't go in if they offer you, some food. And with the amount of money that they really have, if you have 6 little pieces of meat in a bowl, you don't go in and get all 6 of the pieces or 3 of them. You get one because somebody at the table is probably not going to get one anyway. And so you try to be courteous and kind, but they offer you what they have, and they don't have a lot of meat in a lot of places. The primary reason we like doing it in our own country is basically comes down to the dollars and cents. If you come here, you get used to the padded pews, the air conditioning, the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, those types of things, and you don't want to go back. South Africa had a lot of cars, so vehicles were prevalent there. A lot of newer cars. I couldn't believe how new they are, but they have been drilling oil there recently, and they're growing there in Guyana, in Georgetown. It's growing because of the oil that is there and the industry there, but lots of places we go, there's limited transportation. Most of it is wore-out motorcycles or Volkswagens or something of that nature, and they're very small for the gas, so they can get around. But they just don't have the modern-day amenities that we have. It's not nothing new. It's not a big deal to them to go into a church building that will not have a commode lid. It's not a big deal. I mean, that's kind of graphic, but that's not a big deal to them. We think it's got to be nice, and the toiletries and everything's got to be just perfect. And we got stalls and we got all this stuff. They just got a bowl. And so we take a lot of things for granted. And they get here and they get to see these amenities, and they're just great. And especially food. We cook a lot of food at the schools, simply because you can't just leave and go somewhere to get something to eat, because, to go somewhere, you're going to take a couple hours if you have the money to catch a bus, if we happen to be on a bus route. A lot of places in the jungle, you're just not going to find any food. So we have them, and we pay them to prepare food for school on school days, on Saturdays, and for seminars and through the week gospel meetings. We're doing a door knocking campaign down there. We have to plan for food for all of us and enough food for the people that come. So it's like having a big fellowship meal, but it won't be nothing more than a lot of times hominy, rice, or beans, some kind of little split pea, So it's going to be just common stuff for them, the least expensive thing that is there. That's what they're used to, and that's what they want. And so some of the dishes that they've offered me, I've been told, Brother Ugby told me down in Nigeria, he says, Brother Don, you don't want that. And I said, why? He says, because you can't eat that. You can't eat that. I said, well, at least let me have a taste. I took a taste and I said, thank you, brother. It was green something, but it sure tasted green. So I don't know what it was. But it's wonderful. Cost is the biggest thing, and cost there is expensive there, but it's not really, to them it's expensive. To us, it's not really that bad. It's kind of what we're used to. I've done a seminar when I was in Nigeria, like the early February of this year, and I sent my wife a text. I says, I'm not coming home. They need speakers down here. I did 3 lectures, $15,000. Good luck in Mississippi. Of course, I put laugh out loud in there. And when I sent her the rest of the text, I'd made a whole $35. They give me $15,000 of their dollars, but I had about $35 in my hand. Where are we going with $35? So I thank you, appreciate it. He says it's our custom. We take up an offering, and we're going to pay you for being here and doing these seminars. I said, wonderful, but I have to give it back and put it in the plate. But we, as a teaching mechanism, we're trying to just stay on the Bible. We don't do a lot of electives out here with sciences and all this kind of stuff. We have 2 English classes, 2 computer classes, and 1 economics class. We do not have computer classes in every school that we have, simply because we do not have electricity. Those people are used to having charcoal, fire, but they don't, and wood to burn, but they're not burning electricity. Some people have generators, and they'll buy a little portable generator. And if you have a motel, somewhere, a place to stay, they'll have a big generator, old generator, and they'll fire it up, but you got to give them money to run it. They can't just run it, because they have to pay to have that thing to run. And I got tickled. JC and I were in Africa, and it was hot, really, really hot. And one of the elders of the church there at the Corn Farm Church in Grand Bassa had the little place where we were staying. They had a big generator out there. And JC was over there, and he was about to pass out, he thought. He says, brother, how much money would it cost for me to get you to crank that generator? And he says, I can't do that. Can't do it. Too expensive. I said, I'll pay you. He says, no, too expensive. He never would tell him how much it cost to crank that thing. But JC said, I'll give you $20. He says, no. JC wanted that air conditioned. It would have been nice, I promise you. But in their culture, they're not going to start that thing till almost dark. It's got to be getting almost too dark to see before they'll run a light on that thing. That's a different country. English classes are wonderful, and it works really well. And all we have 11 schools there. I've had to have a translator one time where they were so far out in the bush that they didn't understand me. They said I was too high and too fast. And when you're listening to them, it's like all their words go together. And so, and they have a real brogue. Kind of sounds like the Louisiana, the language you hear down around Louisiana, that area. That's kind of the brogue that you would hear. Economics class, here we are trying to help them to figure out how to be most effective with their money because they are bivocational. Those preachers are not paid. Our students are not paid. The congregations, we want the congregations to be autonomous and for the congregation to pay each preacher. We don't want to pay a student, and that's where you guys come in and play the right part. Because if we don't compensate a student for being there in class, we know he's there with the right heart. Others may have right hearts. They just might not have the money. But these guys will work, and they'll come in and they'll come to our classes on Saturday, or even some of them are on Sunday afternoons. And so they'll split that up and work it. But to do a great job, because the tendency is where you have no money, the tendency is to come down there and to get into a program where you can make any money of any kind. It doesn't take a lot. And if you take $40 a month to them, that's a lot of, they'll be there for $40 American money. But we have successes. We do have occasionally denominational preachers coming and taking the courses. And sometimes we just, Brother Calvin over in Florida, Calvin Juice Johnson, sent me a text and says, we have converted one of the denominational preachers. And he says, we're studying with the entire congregation now to see if they'll all convert. But the biggest problem is when that preacher's getting paid by American dollar, he's looking at how's he going to survive. And so we're teaching the congregation that supports the preacher. So it's an autonomous situation. And so it's a great thing and a wonderful thing. Those people need to understand they need to be self-contained, and they don't need to depend on somebody else's money. If they're going to have a minister stand up, pay him a little bit to help him, and he can be bivocational. He doesn't a lot of times end up being a single job, just preaching only. But here's all of our schools. I didn't get back and get seated. I wanted to go. They had a big missions meeting at the Germantown Church here in Memphis, or Germantown actually, this past Wednesday or Tuesday night, but I wasn't able to get back, trying to get everything situated. I wanted to see that. Our schools, one of them is running, but the other school is shut down because of all the wars going on. There's a lot of goodwill things going on, a lot of food, humanitarian efforts, that kind of stuff. Even with our school, one of our directors was in the Ukraine, and Odessa has fled over to the Netherlands, and the other one is living in Arkansas. Basically our secretary, but the teacher I go is still there in the Ukraine. Belarus, we have Brother Oleg is there. We have two schools in Mexico, one in Guatemala, 4 now in Sierra Leone, 4 now in Liberia, 2 in Peru, 1 in Cameroon, 2 in Nicaragua, 1 in Costa Rica, 2 in Nigeria, 1 in Guyana, and 1 in Honduras. Our plans at this moment, J.C. Lee is going November 18th back to South Africa, or to Africa, West Africa, going to go into the Ivory Coast. We've got connections there set up to start another school with about 20 students already lined up, ready to go. If we can get that done, we'll have 2 more in Nigeria, one in Port Harcourt, and the other is in Awaka. And we've got students lined up for both of those if we can raise the funds for those. And we got a place in Costa Rica that we've already raised the funds for, and they're ready. We got students, we got teachers, we got directors and everything for Costa Rica. So there's room to start a new school in Costa Rica. So we're looking within the next year starting 4 more schools. Now, how can we do this? Well, we're preacher training schools, and we don't have overhead. We don't have all this big, huge overhead. We don't have all these secretaries and people doing paperwork. And I'm talking about because you're dealing with the government, and you're dealing with any kind of big kind of money, scholarships, and all that kind of stuff. Guys, you are the scholarship. Everything that we take in, you can go see. You can go to that office right there in Florida, Mississippi, talk to Miss Phyllis, and she'll show you our books and show you if you're going to support a certain work, you'll see your money comes in here and it goes to that school. We just try to make sure that there's enough money available for those schools to operate. We want to get on a solid, line of money coming in, steady support, and then we get that school started. And then we go to the graduations and check in on them, get them books, materials, all these things so that they get an education. That is about as streamlined as you can get. It costs more in travel than I wish it would, but it's pretty expensive traveling. So we try to be concise. When we go, we have an appointment to go. We're not just going just to be going. I've just returned back from Peru, from Trujillo and Lima, but a congregation that supports that work there paid my way. They paid my way because they wanted me to go and do the SMARE seminars during the week, during the VBS, because as Brother Don says, he says, Brother Don, you've not been yet. I want you to go. I'm going to pay for your ticket. So I want you to go so we can all see. And so it all kind of worked out just wonderful. But we try to save as much as we can so we can put as much into education. But here's Liberia. We have Monrovia, Gobli, Flora, and Lofa. Monrovia is the major city. It's heavily populated. Still a lot of trash. It doesn't really have a greatest sanitation department you've ever seen. But it's a major city. But we're flying in. It's pretty safe. And catch a road out over to Gorbley. That's where Brother Maxwell Ree was from. That's him right there. And he's over on the left there. And Brother Maxwell, that was his home village. And so that's where we started in Liberia, was with Brother Maxwell Ree right there. And that's one of the graduating classes. And that is me in the back. I got there and I had all three of the directors was there that day. Alassis and Fowler and Maxwell, and they said, we want to go over and get you a tunic. I'd asked them to have me a tunic made, a garment, so I would fit and be a part of their custom and their culture. And so that's what I did. We go over there and they go in there, and all these people are just about this tall on me. And so I stand up here like this with my arms stretched out, and he's taking all the measurements, and I can hear him from the back telling him to measure extra. There's just two rows of men behind sewing machines. That's what it was. And this dark little room, nothing. About 8 sewing machines in there. And so he got my measurements and he stuck his thing in his pocket. And he just looked up at me and said, giant. When you look at them, you look at me, you can understand. Well, now I've got another name. Having just gotten back from Trujillo, Peru, Brother Percy Robles is our director there, and he might be that tall. He walks up beside me. They was doing VBS, and he walks up beside me and wants his picture made with me. That's a big thing to them, have their picture made with the American. And so he puts his arm around me, and he didn't say this in Spanish. I understood Goliath. I knew what he said. But they're great people, wonderful people, love them, and they're sincere, they're dedicated. They want to. Our directors most of them are bivocational, and every one of them says if there's any way that you can help to figure out a way that we can quit our full-time jobs and to grow the church, we would gladly do it. We would gladly do it. But they're satisfied to get a little salary a month to do those classes and take care of the paperwork. We'll pay a secretary so much a month to do those little things. I'm going to skip the numbers to the end. Here's the graduates there in Monrovia. That congregation's about 350. And we started our graduation. Are we on a schedule here? What time I need to quit? It's 11:15, 16. 11:30? Wonderful. I'll think about it. I said that because I'm going to say this. There was a clock on the wall here. We were on the stage in that building right there. And that's the back. We're at the front right here. We started, the elders, this is the only congregation, all of Africa, Belarus, Belgium, Lithuania, everywhere I've been, that started on time. And this brother stood up at 10 o'clock on the money, and he began to teach class with a couple hundred, 150, whatever the number was. People were steady walking in because they don't have transportation. They're walking to church. Most of them people walked every Sunday. And so they have a PM service is non-existent. So when they're there, they worship. Lots of songs. And you'll see all those colors, that's different tribes. You can tell they come from different villages around, coming in here and walking into this church building, this congregation here. We started at 10 o'clock precisely. We sang a great number of songs. I don't know how many. I was singing to the tune that I recognized, and I would sing with a book, but sometimes it didn't sound like what they were saying, but that's their tongue. And so as we're speaking, we get down to the graduation. We've had about a 10 or 12 minute intermission, just very short. We switch the stage around, put all the books out for the graduates so we can give them the books and materials, a Cecil May book or David Light book or concordance or Mounce's Hebrew word study books. So we're getting all this up and laid out there, and we went right into the graduation. And as we went into that graduation, we went through all of that. And here's something I learned culturally. I offended those people. I got up, brother, and I spoke. I had my little speech. I'm looking at the time, and I said, I got to condense this. And so I was very austere. Yeah, that's a big fancy word, isn't it? I was trying to be loud and clear. but very concise. And so I made the little statements. It was maybe 12 to 14, 15 minutes maximum. And Brother Delassus Goldor gets the mic and he comes over and he says, "Thank you, Brother Don, the Director of Global Missions. That was a short but powerful message." And so I asked Brother Delassus afterward, he said, "Our mindset is, brother, you done traveled 3,000, 4,000 miles. You need to give us a little more." It was 2:35 in the afternoon. I was trying to get out of there. I was feeling kind of for them. And he says, "No, brother, no misunderstand. You speak, we'll listen." And I said, "Next trip, Lord willing, I'll speak a little longer than 12 to 14, 15 minutes. All right, we're going to go into the next. Sierra Leone, just the Puhan is all at the bottom. Freetown was our first school. Bay was the second school. Como was the third school. Now Puhan. JC just returned. He and Brother Jason Love, were over in Salem, Missouri. We had 4 year, well, about 79 students. We had our first 4-year graduation for all three schools at the same time. They had a level at the same time. And while they were there, they started a new school in Puhan. And all those teachers are graduates of Global Missions, every one of them. All the ones that are in charge are our graduates. They went back to their home country and they wanted to share the gospel with their home country. That's Brother JC. These were the different schools. Some of them wear their cultural attire. One graduation I went to, I was the only one wearing a suit. All the rest of them, all the teachers and preachers and all the students, all were dressed in their village attire. I want to go to Sierra Leone. I've not been to Sierra Leone yet. And that's Brother JC. September 11th, I think he turned 83 or 84. And so he's getting a little slower. But here's one of the things in their culture that is big, is they march through the city or the village, whichever one it is. I've marched around the village with them in the dirt and singing, "I have decided to follow Jesus," or some other song or something, but they'll be singing something as they're marching through. And they're trying to gain attention, and they want everybody to be proud of those students. And they're basically advertising, but they're giving those men an opportunity to be seen and to be heard. And so it's a great thing. I didn't understand until I was there how important a piece of paper was. We were at a graduation in Vonjima, which is in Lofa County, West Africa, Liberia. And we were there at a new congregation called the New Hope Church of Christ. They had started over there just out of the town there. And there's a lot of folks there, and they had gone in and done the World Bible School studies. They get those materials. They distribute through all the schools, and they use that for Bible study, personal Bible study to get set up. And that's a great thing. Some of you here may be participants in the World Bible School where you do the grading and back and forth. But that congregation was started from one of our preachers in Lofa. And when we got there, we marched through that whole town, and we were singing and praising God and thanking God for that whole thing. And we got up to the graduation, and I had a few words to speak. I asked Brother Fowler, he says, "I want you to do 5 minutes, because, we're doing this along the way. We didn't know we were going to be doing this. We're doing this along the way. So we're going to encourage them." We didn't know that they was doing a graduation for Bible school studies. And so as we stopped in there and went in and we done our speaking, he holds up their certificates. And he says, "I want you guys to take this home and put it over your doorway or on the wall where everybody can see it when you come in. This lets everybody that comes by and everybody that sees you know that you have value, that they can have value that supersedes this world. That piece of paper right there tells the world who you are and that you're a Christian and that you've accomplished something with your life other than just the norm here in our country." And I thought to myself, I never thought of it like that. But when you have absolutely nothing, something like that means a lot, and it goes beyond words, what can be said. But marching through those cities, so when I got over to Lofa, it was not hard to march through that town for the second or third time. All right, we're going to be out of time in just a minute. We'll go here's the San Cristobal and Tapachula. That's in Chiapas, Mexico. That's great. Brother Guy Stanley there from Springfield, Tennessee in the center. And Brother David Aguilar to his right is the director there. Brother Guy called me the other day while I was in Peru, and he says, anywhere I can go in South America, you call me. I want to go and speak. It's people like him that make it easier on us. Isaac, because when he goes, we give him his surveys. He interviews the students, sits down and talks, and if there's anything that's needed or really demanded or asked for, he's a go-between. So we communicate back and forth with him. We don't have to spend the money because he goes on his own money. Of the church where he's a member at, they pay his way, and he goes down and takes the pictures, and so you'll see the newsletters that we give out. Those pictures will be taken like Brother Guy Stanley. And he reports and he speaks while he is there. And so you have good, solid brothers and sisters or brothers in Christ that go and do that. Sometimes they're whiles ago, but Brother Guy's wife has passed away. And he went to both the graduations there, and he wants to be with me in Peru here in December. We'll be going down in December. Got one. Y'all will be having Thanksgiving, and we'll be just getting back maybe in time for Thanksgiving. Then I'll be in Nicaragua, and Indiri and Ciudad Sandino. So y'all pray for us. That's our next trip out. Maybe Costa Rica in between there, but let's go to another. There's Brother Luce. There's Brother Oleg. Brother Sasha, over on the far right over there, is now retired. He's got some health issues, so he's handed the torch off to Brother Oleg, and he's the director there, and it's hard over there with that communism, and Belarus, was trying to line up with Putin. That's going to make it even harder again, and so it's hard for the gospel to go forth in that country. Be praying for Belarus. And here's Nicaragua, and this is Brother Joel Bustamante. They're in Ciudad Sandino, isn't it? And here's another part of our culture is to have a big meal together at a graduation. There's a graduating class. We had Brother Eduardo Lacayo. That's a big class. Brother Eduardo is an engineer. He and Brother Joe Bustamante got his degree over here at Searcy, Arkansas, and he went back for his country. He's an engineer. And Brother Eduardo, he's ready to retire if he could and be a full-time preacher there while he's among us. So he's getting close to that age. And we have one of our translators, Marcelo. Marcelo is right now attending down in Wetumpka, Alabama, and in school down at Faulkner. And so he's given up his life over there as an engineer and come back to get a degree here and to go back here in the near future. All right, and here's Brother Leoncio. Sure, he all got to meet him a couple of weeks ago. He got to come to America, and I met with him and his brother Nestor, and the other brother is Marcelo. So the three brothers are here working on education. His brother, two of the students. Let's go to the numbers very quickly. That's Brother Richard Ayala from Mojohana, Honduras. And there's Liberia, and that's Layla there in the center, our newest school. They had their first level graduation, and some of those people didn't come back. They just got basically a basic knowledge of the Bible, so they were in their second leg for the AA. And so when they picked up 12 new students come in to replace the 10 that had left with just a basic Bible diploma. And here's the other graduation there back in. All right, let's do the numbers very quickly. There we go. Since the year 2000 is when JC started trying to do all the legwork, get school started. We started keeping records in 2015, and from 2015 to date, we've had 1,133 graduates, 1,348 congregations established, 8,801 baptisms, and 5,925 prayer requests and restorations. And when I interview those students, I sit down whether it's a woman or a man, and the first question I ask them is, have you specifically, personally been involved in establishing a new congregation since you've been in school? That you're going to take credit for, not all of you take credit for, but that you were instrumental in, you alone. We write that number down. I say, how many baptisms were produced out of your private Bible study with a person, an individual. We put that number down. We said, how many restorations or prayer requests have you had? And we put that number down. And then we ask them, what's the number of the congregation where you attend? And what's the number of that congregation where you're attending? And along the way, we'll ask them, are you preaching, teaching, Bible class, ladies class? Tell me whatever your involvement is. And we write all of that down and we record that when we get back to the office down there. But that's the numbers that we're looking at present day. That's through 24, not through 25. So when we'll make it into 25, we'll do the record count again. But you got 2 minutes for a question. All right. I just want to say this. Thank you. We are transparent. If you got any questions about anything, pick up the telephone, give me a call, JC a call, Phyllis a call. We don't mind talking to you if something comes back in your mind later. We hand out these newsletters and they have little envelopes. I know the congregation here supports us on a monthly basis, but if you send them that letter, you'll get a response back thanking you for your donation. And it's tax deductible because we are a nonprofit organization. So we'll send, at the end of the year, we'll send you back a receipt telling you how much money you've sent to us. And so you can take that off of your taxes. And so, it's we're fully transparent. We don't want to try to hide anything from anybody. Everything that we do is only opened up with everybody. Just because we get standoffish. Sometimes people are like, is it just an organization? That kind of stuff. But if you have any questions of any kind, give me a shout. Thank you so much.